5:45 a.m. Alarm goes off. You're up before anyone else in the house. You lace up. You don't eat. You've been told not to. Empty stomach, fat burning mode. This is how it's supposed to work. The workout is hard. You push through. You feel good. Or at least you feel like you did something. By 9 a.m., you're at your desk, slightly foggy. By 11 a.m., you are ravenous. By 2 p.m., you've crashed and you're looking for anything to get you through the afternoon. By 10 p.m., you are exhausted, but you cannot wind down. And at 3 a.m., you are wide awake, heart going, mind running. And tomorrow, you'll set that alarm for 5:45 again, because you've been told this is how you fix your hormones. It isn't. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly why. Welcome back to the Perimenopause Reset. I am Miriam, functional nutritionist, gut hormone specialist. And this is the show where we translate what your body is actually doing so you can stop guessing and start working with it. Today's episode is one I've been wanting to record for a long time because this particular piece of advice has caused more harm in my clinical practice than almost anything else I've seen. And it is advice that comes from a genuinely good place. Fasted morning training, the idea that working out on an empty stomach forces your body to use fat for fuel, accelerates fat loss, and optimizes your metabolism. Here's the thing. That's not wrong. The science behind it is real. Fasted training does increase fat oxidation. Insulin is low. The body shifts toward using stored fat as fuel. The research supports this. The problem is not the science. The problem is who that science was done on. The majority of fasted training research was conducted on young men with stable hormonal baselines, healthy testosterone, stable cortisol curves, insulin sensitivity intact, a nervous system that recovers from stress efficiently. That is not the same physiology as a woman in perimenopause with declining estrogen, fluctuating progesterone, a cortisol system that's been running hot for years, and a nervous system doing everything it can do to hold the whole picture together. The logic of fasted training is sound. The application to your body right now in this hormonal context, that's where it breaks down. And the breakdown has a very specific sequence. Let me walk you through it. I want to walk you through exactly what happens inside your body from the moment that alarm goes off at 5:45 a.m. to the moment you can't sleep at 10 p.m. 6 steps. Each one sets up the next. Step 1, the alarm goes off. Cortisol peaks. Normal. Okay, that's normal. This is your body doing exactly what it is designed to do. Mobilizing fuel, raising blood pressure, preparing you to face the day. Your cortisol curve is supposed to peak in the morning. But in perimenopause, this peak is often already elevated or dysregulated before you've touched your workout. The buffer that estrogen provided, and estrogen is a cortisol modulator. Something most women are never told. That buffer has declined. Your morning baseline is higher than it used to be. The system is already running hot. Still, no food. Step two, you haven't eaten. Blood sugar is at its overnight low. Your body has been fasting for 8, 9, maybe 10 hours. Glucose is low. That's normal and expected for an overnight fast. But it means your fuel tank is running near empty at exactly the moment you're about to make a significant demand on it. Two things are now true simultaneously. Cortisol is elevated and available fuel is low. High cortisol, low fuel, still no food. Step three, you start training. Your body reads threat. Cortisol already elevated, blood sugar already low, physical demand added on top. Your body cannot distinguish between a spin class and a threat to your survival. It reads the signals: stress hormones high, fuel scarce, physical demand present. The adrenals get the signal. Release more cortisol. Release adrenaline. Find fuel immediately. You intended to send a training signal. Your body received an emergency signal. High cortisol, low fuel, high demand. The alarm is going off. Step four, your liver dumps glucose. Blood sugar spikes without food. Here's the part nobody talks about. In response to the cortisol and adrenaline signal, your liver releases stored glycogen. Blood sugar rises, not because you ate anything, but because your stress response mobilized internal fuel stores. This is a cortisol driven glucose spike. It behaves differently than a dietary glucose spike. It's harder to regulate. It clears less cleanly, and it sets off the next problem. You are now in a high cortisol, spiked glucose state, and you haven't had a bite of food. Blood sugar just spiked from stress, not from food. Step five, the crash. Post workout, cortisol should drop. In a regulated system, it does. Efficiently, cleanly, done by mid morning. In a dysregulated perimenopause system, it often doesn't clear cleanly. The glucose that spiked now drops hard. By 10 a.m., she's foggy. By 11 a.m., she's ravenous. By 2 p.m., she's crashing and reaching for the fastest thing she can find. She thinks it's hunger. She thinks she's failed. It's a stress hormone hangover from a sequence that started 3 hours ago on an empty stomach. That crash, it is not random. It was scheduled at 5:45 a.m. Step six, the evening effect. Cortisol that didn't clear in the morning doesn't disappear. It resurfaces. The 10 p.m. second wind, the inability to wind down, the 3 a.m. wake up with the heart going and the mind already running through tomorrow, the wired but exhausted loop that everyone keeps telling her is just anxiety or just perimenopause or just something she has to accept. It's not. It's a downstream consequence of a cortisol cascade that started before sunrise. One decision at dawn, 6 hours of downstream consequences. Hear me clearly. This is not a willpower problem. This is a physiology problem, and it has a very specific name: cortisol mediated glucose dysregulation. Your body did exactly what it was designed to do. The design just wasn't built for this. Not every woman experiences this cascade equally. The severity, the timing, and the specific downstream symptoms depend on which metabolic pattern you are running. Now, I work with primarily four gut hormone archetypes, and two of them are particularly vulnerable to fasted morning training. Now, let me tell you who they are. The cortisol wired woman. She is already running a dysregulated cortisol curve. She is the high performer, the one who's been managing stress at a high level for years. She feels wired even when she's exhausted. She can't wind down at night. She wakes at 3 a.m. and her mind is already running. For her, the HPA axis is already activated before the alarm goes off. The morning cortisol peak that's normal in everyone is elevated and prolonged in her. Fasted high intensity training at 6 a.m. is adding a second cortisol trigger before the first one from waking has even begun to clear. Her body cannot distinguish between a deadline, a difficult conversation, and a 6 a.m. HIIT class. Same hormonal signal, same response. The cumulative cortisol load is what's driving her belly fat that won't move, her 3 a.m. wake ups, her inability to wind down. Her workouts are the sole cause. But the fasted state and the morning timing are specifically where the problem lives for her pattern. Now, the insulin inflamed woman is dealing with impaired glucose regulation, blood sugar that feels like a roller coaster, energy crashes after meals, cravings, especially afternoon and evening, abdominal weight that doesn't respond to effort, often a low-grade inflammatory picture, joint aches, skin issues, persistent puffiness. For her, the cortisol-driven glucose spike from fasted training hits a system that can't manage it cleanly. She gets the spike, but her insulin response is blunted or delayed. The glucose stays elevated longer, then crashes harder. Her post-workout ravenous hunger at 11 a.m. is not a lack of discipline. Her afternoon cravings aren't a issue or a flaw on her part. They are the downstream result of a blood sugar swing set in motion before 6 a.m. For both of these patterns, cortisol wired and insulin inflamed, fasted morning training is not a neutral variable. It is actively working against the outcome she's trying to achieve. Now, estrogen stuck and T3 downregulated, these two patterns are affected differently. The mechanism isn't identical. Their primary drivers are estrogen metabolism and thyroid function, respectively, not cortisol and insulin. But both carry an inflammatory load and an energy production challenge that fasted high intensity training can amplify over time. The cascade for these women is less acute, but still cumulative. The problem builds over weeks, not hours. Knowing your pattern is the difference between tweaking a variable and actually solving the problem. Because the fix for a cortisol wired woman and the fix for an insulin inflamed woman are not the same. And I can't give you the right answer without knowing which one you are. I know what some of you are thinking right now, so let me go ahead and address it. But I've been doing this for years, and it worked. It probably did. In your 30s, with a full hormonal buffers running at capacity, your body could absorb the cortisol load from fasted training and recover overnight. Estrogen was stabilizing your blood sugar, something almost nobody tells women. Estrogen has direct glucose regulating effects. When it was present in sufficient quantities, it was absorbing a significant portion of the metabolic stress that fasted training creates. Progesterone was dampening cortisol reactivity. Your thyroid was converting T4 to T3 efficiently. Your nervous system was recovering from stress cleanly. Those buffers have declined, not gone, declined. The same input is landing on a fundamentally different system. The protocol that worked at age 34 is not neutral at age 44. It's counterproductive. Maybe you're thinking or saying, my trainer or doctor told me to do this. I believe you. And I'm not here to undermine the professionals you work with. Most exercise prescriptions for women, even excellent ones, are extrapolated from research on men or from research on younger women before hormonal transition. This is a known and documented gap in the literature. It's not that your trainer is wrong about exercise. It's that the perimenopause hormonal context changes the equation in ways that are not yet in most training certifications or medical school curricula. This information is not widely taught yet. That's not your trainer's fault, and it's not yours either. Maybe you're saying, but I'm not hungry in the morning. Doesn't that mean my body is fine with it? This one is important. Morning appetite suppression feels like a sign of metabolic flexibility, like your body has adapted, like it's working. Well, it's often the opposite. High cortisol at waking suppresses hunger signals. The appetite suppression many women experience in the morning is frequently a cortisol signature, not a sign that the body is running cleanly on fat, but a sign that cortisol is elevated enough to mask the hunger signal entirely. Not hungry is not the same as hormonally stable. They look identical from the outside. They are not. Let me pull back for a moment before I send you off. Listen, this episode is not about never exercising in the morning. It is not about avoiding hard work. And it is not about adding one more thing to the list of things you're doing wrong. It's about understanding what the fasted state does inside a perimenopause hormonal context, specifically how it interacts with a cortisol system that's already elevated, a blood sugar regulation system that's under stress, and a nervous system that's managing more than it was ever designed to manage alone. You didn't have this information. The people who gave you the advice you've been following mostly didn't have it either. That is the gap this show exists to close. The question you need to answer now is, which pattern is mine? Because the path forward from here is pattern specific. A cortisol wired woman needs a different adjustment than an insulin inflamed woman. And both of them need something different than a T3 downregulated woman who's been in a caloric deficit for 3 years. If you've been listening to this episode, nodding along, and you don't know which pattern you are, that's your starting point. The free gut hormone quiz takes about 3 to 5 minutes. The link will be listed in the show notes. Your result tells you exactly which pattern is driving your symptoms, and that result is your roadmap into our free Nourish and Flow Circle online community. Inside the circle, the Know Your Archetype folder is organized entirely around your pattern, not general perimenopause advice, your specific metabolic picture. The resources in there were built for exactly the conversation we just had. That's where this goes from information to a protocol that's actually designed for you. It's free, 3 minutes to start. You have been working hard. You have been consistent, and your body has been doing exactly what a body in this hormonal context does when it receives the wrong signal. That's not failure. That's information. Now you have better information. You can use it. See you in the circle. Take care.